Hi, my name's Tiro Matembu. I work with the Hampton Project, a grassroots coalition committed to fighting settler colonial capitalism. Today we'll be talking to Harpreet Singh, a renter, student, and activist here in Treaty 4. Thanks for being with me, Harpreet. Can you tell me about some of the living conditions in North Central and what you're facing as a renter?
I live in a place where I had a problem since I moved in. Within 3 months, I had problem with cockroaches, mice. Now I'm facing bed bugs problem, and from last 3 weeks, I have the same problem. It's never been resolved. I haven't heard any response from my landlord, and I emailed her, and she clearly don't care about this, and she made ugly comments when I reached out to her. One of her employees showed up to my doorsteps without unannounced, and during conversation she picked up some worst parts. I say it's calling names, calling me things that's not nice and unprofessional. And I recorded those my conversation over the phone, and now I'm in the process with ORT here, and there are some rights for tenants, but there are not a lot, and the process is a lot harder for the tenants to go through this. I'm a third year university student, and as my major is human justice, I'm very familiar with the documentation that I'm filling up right now. But for a normal who's not familiar with the documentation like this, it's a lot harder to go through this process and to know what their rights are.
Right. And as a renter, can you tell me what rights do you feel you currently have in Saskatchewan as a renter?
First of all, pricing. Pricing is really bad. Pricing is off the roof. I was living in a nice neighborhood before, but I couldn't afford, so I had to move in North Central, where I can there is no neighbors that they want to talk to you. There's no connection. There's no bonding. And there are people who just moves in for a couple months and a couple months or a few months, and then they're out of there. There's no, they just there for like a transit population. This
Right.
is,
So
yeah.
you're saying like in North Central, you're facing community members that are transitioning in and out and they're based there because it's seen as affordable. And can you speak of like with the crisis of no affordable housing, what are some steps that could be taken by the government to meaningfully impact and address the housing crisis?
It's definitely depend on how much you earn, right? If you say, for example, if I take my own example, if I'm a full-time student, that means I'm spending most of my time at studying, getting funding from the government as loans, right? And I'm working part-time. And where part-time doesn't pay you all the bills, right? So it definitely the government has to take care and keep an eye on it. Like this person is not making enough to pay that much of rent that he can afford. By myself, I won't be able to afford any place in Regina. So I have to have a roommate or roommates to live in a place or desirable place or at least livable place.
Right. What do you think steps like recently April Chief CAF and the NDP have proposed rent control? Do you think that would make a meaningful impact on lives of like students like yourself?
Oh, definitely. I recently had a conversation with my landlord, and I asked her if, since she knows like I'm a student, and just at least don't raise the rent, and or give me some kind of discount. Some of the companies give discounts to students. But she explained me, and she said if she bring the rent down, then it's going to affect her property value, and she cannot give me any discounts, and she won't. Otherwise, she won't be able to get money from the banks, or the property goes down. So yeah, definitely, it's a problem.
There's a problem. You know, you mentioned living in North Central that it seems like a lack of community in your time. I've spent time in North Central and it's amazing community members that have been there for years and years. But for you yourself as someone new to the community, what are things that you can see that could be ways that could strengthen? Like what are some of the weaknesses that North Central's facing and wonder what are ways we as a city could impact North Central and help?
Oh, first of all, as you say, the NDP brought the rent control. That's an awesome step. We need rent control. Second of all, if we do not have bondings with each other as a community member, as a person who's living in the building with with other fellow my other flatmates that are living with me, if we don't unite, then I feel we will be keep getting abused from the landlords or called slum landlords. We definitely need some kind of unity between tenants and or the surrounding neighborhoods, that so we can go share our stories. So the major problem I face is I cannot go somewhere in my neighborhood. I cannot share my story. This is what I'm suffering from, or this is what's happening in my building. There's a major lack of bonding.
You know, you said that one of your part-time jobs is working for Terry Sleva, a true hero of mine. Can you tell me a few of the lessons that you've learned from Terry?
Not few. I actually learned a lot from her. She's the strongest woman. I learned how to fight, actually. She made me activist, advocating for poor, for ourselves, and standing up against injustice, and be nice to everyone, be loving to everyone. She actually, I can say, made me a human. Yeah, a real human. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you, Harpreet, for being with me today. And thank you for the continued advocacy that you do in all the work that you do in our community.